Oh,
be able
sick.
to see that.
And this was built in FlutterFlow.
This is built in FlutterFlow.
Okay,
Yeah,
nice. So
you get
you
40.
made like $10 like without even trying, it sounds like.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool. Rosson, thanks for taking this interview. I found you on LinkedIn after I saw that you launched your own app business using no code tools, and I really loved what you were working on. You seemed like you were the perfect type of person who had an idea. Maybe you don't know how to code. I guess I'll find out shortly. And you resorted to no code tools because you knew that um, you could build your tech business without needing to write code, hire developers, hire a CTO. So I'm super excited to learn more about you and your journey right now. Thanks for taking the time. I'd love for you to introduce yourself.
yeah, no problem. My name is Rosson Long. I'm the CEO of LZ Tech. We are a small agency, and for the last 3 or 4 years, we've been building in no-code platforms. My origin is kind of in college. I got into IT, and while I was in college, I started working for a supply chain company. I also speak Chinese, and so the supply chain company is kind of leveraging the skill set I had there to kind of communicate and make plans for purchase orders and kind of that international link or bridge, so to speak. It led to me stumbling upon QuickBase at the time, which is what we built. That was my first no-code platform that I ever built on, and we built a solution for that supply chain company that essentially saved everyone a ton of cash. Fast forward 4 years, and I'm like, maybe there's more things out there now. And I go hunting, and I had clearly been under a rock because discovered all this FlutterFlow stuff, discovered a ton of other no-code solutions that basically can let you build an entire SaaS platform from scratch, and was super blown away by all of that. So immediately started brainstorming and realized I need to start learning these new platforms. And I love to have an idea to build things with. Otherwise, I feel like it's a little boring. And so my brother and I came up with this idea to build an app called Roast Me, and with AI, and just make a roast bot where you type a little bit about who you are, and then you just completely like destroy yourself or humble yourself a little bit with whatever you've been doing recently.
Wow, very cool. That's really, really cool. And what was the tech stack that you used to build Roast Me?
Yeah, so we used BuildShip for all of our automations, FlutterFlow for our front end, Firebase is our back end. Um, we we went back and forth between Firebase and Supabase, but we decided to just stick with Firebase because of simplicity at the time, and it was our first app that we were building there. Um, yeah, that's pretty much our tech stack. I think Stripe is our payment method, so we're using Stripe as our payment method. You buy marshmallows and you roast your marshmallows.
Oh,
Um,
cool. So that's like your business model is you use token based um, uh, like usage based pricing.
yeah, so
Very
basically
cool.
people buy little tokens. In this case, we call them marshmallows just for fun.
Oh, nice. And you're using Stripe for people to pay for those?
Yeah, we used Stripe as our authentication. Stripe was also just built right into FlutterFlow too. So it really didn't take us very long to get everything set up.
Hmm.
We ended up using BuildShip to actually finalize the process of the Stripe transaction because that would allow us to put the tokens or the marshmallows in this case back into that user's profile.
For sure.
Um, and then the other thing is we built a history of all the roasts you've done because we felt like it would be a lot of fun to be able to go back and browse through any of the roasts that you've made, since some of them might be super funny and you don't want to lose them. And it doesn't cost a lot to store just a few blobs of text everywhere. So,
Hmm. No,
yeah.
really cool, really cool. And what's your background? Do you know how to code? Like, what's your professional background?
So I started in IT in college, but I didn't really get. I didn't get deep into coding. I got mostly into spinning up servers. Uh, for fun, I would go buy like really old server hardware and learn how to boot Linux up on those servers. So really into kind of the bash space, the server management, the administrative space. But the I didn't really love being in an office all day, which is what drug me into supply chain back then. It was lots of communication and talking with people and building cool products for them that then would get resold somewhere else. And
Hmm.
I really liked that. And so while I was in college, I kind of pivoted a little bit and started going into more business, kind of almost probably what people would normally get an MBA for, is what
Yeah.
I'm doing right now, is running my own agency, communicating with clients, helping them build solutions. And IT really gave me the backbone and knowledge of like databases, how you set up your data structures, what's a good scalable solution uh, for these different kinds of databases, stuff like that. So it was a great foundational background for the tech direction that I went overall. But now I'm more in the solutions and sales side for the for this kind of space.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So I like what you said about, you went into something that you needed an MBA for, because I'm a big believer that the only way that you learn about business is by building a business. Um, you can learn theory, you can learn, principles, and I do think those things matter. Like, as a business owner, I often find myself resorting to Harvard case study reviews, resorting to, reading about principles. I watch a lot of like Harvard lectures and stuff too. I often find myself resorting back to like curriculum and academia as I build my business, but there's so much stuff that you don't learn until you're talking to customers, until you're running experiments, until you lose a bunch of money on a marketing campaign that failed, or like you build a product that your customer doesn't like, and you are under the water on a specific customer, but you got to deliver your promise. So there are all these like fundamental business concepts that you only learn while building. So I would love to know, like, what did you learn while building your business, or what are you learning as you build this app company that you didn't know
Yeah.
before you launched?
So most of our clients have come through referrals through communities, honestly.
Oh,
It's
really?
just being in communities and talking with the members and providing help to the members and then offering them. A lot of the members actually have quite a bit of knowledge as well and connections and networks, and they're building stuff. And sometimes people come to them and they simply don't have the bandwidth.
Right.
So we created a kind of a referral system within the communities that we're in, where we'll essentially reach out and we'll just say, hey, we have a referral program that if you ever have a client and you don't have the bandwidth to consume them, you're welcome to send them our way, and we'll give you a percentage of that revenue that comes from those clients, not profit, but just like straight revenue. So how many hours did we work? How much money were those hours? And then a percentage of those hours can get sent over to you. So in these communities, a lot of people have been kind of picking up on that, and they're realizing, well, I already have a full-time job here doing this. I may as well, if I get someone new and I can't bring them in under my belt, and I don't want to tackle the building an entire agency and delegating it to lots of different people themselves, they send it over to me, and then they get little paychecks every month into their bank accounts, and
Very
it's a
cool.
win-win for everyone.
That's
That's
awesome.
kind of how we Yeah, that's how we found clients. uh, Still trying to figure out, how do you find a client just completely organic, like you run into them, and you shake a hand, and then they're in your pocket, or they're working with you right away. I think that a lot of that, the funniest thing is this LinkedIn stuff that I've been starting to do. All of the people who are connecting with me are developers,
Oh, interesting.
all over again. And these communities that I'm in are also all developers. So I have this really strong network of people who also like to build no code, low code stuff like yourself,
Hmm.
but it's fairly difficult to stumble on and find the people that actually need the no code tools built for them. Um, Figuring out how to run into those kinds of individuals, I think, is the hardest part. And so I think just spreading your network as wide as you can, and then offering a good opportunity for when people run into someone who needs it, but they don't have the bandwidth to work on it, to let them refer that person to you, is so far still the strongest way that I've found to drive client growth
Got
up to
you.
this point.
Yeah, it's a lot of things that I coach like our builders on too. Like, when you initially launch a business, you kind of have like you, and then like your family and friends like right around you, and then outside your family friends, you have like their friends, and then like outside of that, you start to get into the strangers, where these are people that you don't typically know, or you don't recognize these names. They might come from referrals, or they might
Yeah.
have been referred by a friend. And then after that is when you start getting into the complete stranger zone, where now you're like just straight up attracting arbitrary people from places you never knew existed. And now that's when you start to see like the magic of your business happening, and you get excited because you're like, damn, like now I have to serve these people who I've never talked to or I have no connection with. Like the stakes would feel a little bit higher. But then like
Build trust.
it gets exciting too. It's like, oh my God, I just fulfilled a order for someone who's brand new, and like it didn't come from a family. It's not somebody who wants to just do me a favor. And then you build confidence as an entrepreneur, and you get more of those people and more of those people. And then eventually the flywheel kind of hits, and you learn how to just be transactional, and deliver value for money. And that takes a long time. Like organic is your best friend. It's a long game, but when it does hit in the long run, it will keep your business afloat. And like for us, our organic is all about content, doing these types of interviews on YouTube, and going back out
Yeah.
into the community and just giving free value. So I hear you there loud and clear. I'd love to see your app, Roast Me. Do you want
Sure.
to share your
Yeah.
screen, kind of demo it to the audience?
Yeah.
And
And just to
what's your ideal customer for Roast Me? Who would be using this app?
honestly, I think like college students and high school students that are just having fun
Okay.
and kind of wanting to have a laugh, or maybe I don't know, you're hanging out with a friend and you're at a campfire and you just want to have a laugh at yourself and kind of just feel like you're kind of grounded again and not thinking of yourself so haughty or high and mighty, and kind of can laugh at your achievements and think, just be be a little more in the moment with people and just kind of be able to laugh and find humor about stuff.
No, for sure.
Just tagging on everything you said, though, I think the trust that you build with these people, though, when you work with them, it's so cool to see that trust built. So it's awesome.
Yep.
All right, I'm gonna share my screen here. Let me go ahead and enable. All right,
Oh,
you able
sick.
to see that?
And this was built in FlutterFlow.
This is built in FlutterFlow.
Okay,
Yeah,
nice.
this is kind of the home page. Um, Obviously, we can log out and we could log back in. Um, and I think some of the hardest parts of FlutterFlow is making sure that your redirects work correctly on your buttons.
Yeah, and something
But
I'm
so,
just noticing. Sorry, I got to call this out, but this is a web app. Like you're building this
yeah,
on the desktop. Were you planning on building this as a web app first or a mobile app first?
we started as a web app because it's a lot easier to release really quickly and iterate
Oh,
really
okay.
quickly. Um, and then we have it set up because FlutterFlow supports deploying to pretty much every platform. We're already in the process of getting ourselves submitted to like the App Store and stuff. So if I log in here, it brings me in, and this is where the magic happens. You can go look at the history of roasts that you've created, and we've learned so much more in FlutterFlow now that some of these like UI things make me cringe just looking at them now. But this was the first kind of big app that we decided to go for. So you purchase marshmallows, and then we donate 20% of all the proceeds to mental health, anti-bullying, and burn victims. The roast me is where you've got these two options. You can roast yourself, or you could potentially put somebody else's name in here and figure that out.
That's sick.
And then you've got roast someone. And so I think this one's fun. So
This
like,
is awesome. You could totally troll people with this. This is
it's yeah. So like you can put like a basketball player from the perspective of a soccer mom, and then roast a marshmallow. This will consume a marshmallow over here, and it sends off your request over to ChatGPT. This is all running through BuildShip. And BuildShip takes it, processes it, and then pumps out like a really funny roast from different perspectives for the roast someone one. So it's like, oh honey, I see you're a basketball player. That's cute. Dribbling around and trying to score in that oversized fishnet. I mean, it's adorable how you think those high top sneakers give you game. In soccer, we actually have to use strategy and endurance, but you go ahead and keep practicing those free throws. Maybe one day you'll hit as many goals as my little Timmy does in a weekend tournament.
That's hilarious. You know
So
what would be even funnier is like if you integrated 11 labs and like got like the person to train on their voice, and then you sent like an audio message of like the person actually saying it. That'd be hilarious.
yeah, that's actually one of the next updates we want to do to this. There's three things that we're trying to do over the next month or so. One is we want to put voice in. We think it'd be hilarious if it could read back, and we can present it as an accessibility tool, kind
Okay,
of
okay,
funnily
yeah.
as accessibility. The other is we want to do roast an achievement. In the center, we want to add one more where you can just take an achievement that you've done
Hmm.
and roast yourself on an achievement specifically. Um, and then the third thing is we want to make it so that oh, I'm gonna space it right now. Oh, we want to on Twitter use the bot to roast big companies like McDonald's, Wendy's, uh, or even comedians. Go roast comedians on Twitter or X. It's X now, but and so go on X and use the roast me bot to go roast them, and then if we can figure out the program and get it so that when if they respond to that roast, then it responds back to them again with another roast.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's cool, man. I could see
Just
this going viral for sure. Like,
yeah, it's just fun. It's a fun little side project. Right now, we've had maybe 4 or 5 people buy marshmallows and use them for fun with their
oh,
friends.
cool.
We still
And
have
how much did you make off that, if you don't mind? Like, what's the cost?
no. The marshmallows are only 250. We're just selling it for like 249 here.
So
You can get
you
40.
made like $10, like without even trying. It sounds like
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. That's
I
a
mean
win.
we put all this together and we learned a lot. Doing dark mode was fun. Making it so you kind of switch things around. You've got like a burning marshmallow over here
Oh, dude,
during
that's
dark mode.
epic. Like, I don't want that to go overlooked. Like, most people don't even
Yeah,
generate their first dollar, and like this was a passion project, but like this is totally something that people would put their money in. And another thing we have to realize too in the market today, y'all, is like 250 and $5 and $10, like those are the new like $1 bills, honestly. Like, people are putting that type of money into just anything in the internet, because now like inflation and like cost of living, like it's not cheap to do anything in the world anymore. So a buck or 5 or 10 on the internet nowadays is pretty normal to be spending. So I think it's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. I think for a handful of laughs, it's totally. I mean, if I was in college and I stumbled on this, I would go buy some marshmallows and roast myself and my friends for fun.
Oh, for sure.
But
And
that's kind of the premise of
yeah,
the
the way
app.
I'm imagining this is like as you build up the feature set, like you know, we we look into viral marketing a lot, and like if you were to make like a bunch of like TikToks and Instagram reels that had funny hooks and stuff, it could totally catch some wind and take this to somewhere you didn't even realize. It's just a numbers and honestly kind of a luck game, but that is pretty
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. We'll see where it goes. We've got I think the biggest thing that's coming up potentially soon here is if this goes somewhere a little bit and we start posting on X and people think it's funny and start following, we also got Hype Me. And so we'll let you jump between hypeme.co and roastme.co
Oh, sick.
and let you like pump your friends up or like send them some humility, one of the
No,
two.
that's pretty
So
cool. The hype me one is something that I feel like could do well too, because um like
they're just opposite sides of the same coin.
for sure.
But yeah.
And who doesn't love that? I also like that you're thinking about X, because like X has a good API. It's very forgiving and like it's generous. So if you were to integrate the API, I've actually been doing some like Twitter API automation with BuildShip, and their API is super easy to integrate with BuildShip. I can even send you that guide if you want it. But
Yeah, sure.
uh, yeah, that can be pretty cool. No, that's dope, man. And is this your first project that you launched with FlutterFlow?
It is. Yep.
Cool.
Yep. So if we can get things kind of moving, and obviously just as a passion project, we've been spending maybe a weekend a month, just throwing a little bit of time at it. So this month, next weekend, we'll be spending some, or this upcoming weekend, we'll be spending a little bit of time on it
Hell yeah.
to improve again.
That's really
But yeah,
What did you learn throughout the process? You said you learned a lot. Like, what was something that you didn't know that you know now?
so what I've realized is deploying to the iOS and app stores is actually way harder than building the app itself.
Mm.
If I'm being honest with
It
you,
is. It's hard.
I don't know if it's innately complex on purpose, but when you deploy to a web page, you just click publish basically and you're there. But getting into the app stores, all of the kind of validations and gatekeeping that they do to make sure that the apps don't have viruses and stuff adds an additional layer of complexity that you're not really ever expecting.
Yeah.
That was probably the biggest surprise I had. Um, I think the other one was building inside of BuildShip or Make or Zapier, whichever people call it. The When you start with a blank canvas, it's actually not that easy to think, what do I need to do here?
Hmm.
What are the individual steps I need to go through to go from A to B? Of They make a Stripe purchase. The Stripe purchase triggers something. That thing then adds tokens to a Firebase account and then associates to the specific user using their UUID,
Right.
right? But then that makes sense when you just write it on paper, but when you need to break that down and actually turn it into the fundamental API
Mm.
calls that have to happen one at a time, it's much more involved than you ever think it is from the start. And so bringing my brother in, he's a programmer by trade, and bringing him in, he was able to help me see from a programmatic standpoint, this is when you have this general flow, here's how you break that general flow into much smaller programmatical steps, leveraging the API to go through
Yeah.
each step, go to each transformation. It's a purchase, it was confirmed, it went through. Okay, now we
Mhm.
trigger the next part, and then all of the splits that come from that
The inputs and the
decision
outputs,
tree.
right? Like I was just on a call
Yeah.
yesterday with a builder, and yeah, he was like, I understand like fundamentally, like I would send all this data to ChatGPT, I would go to a database, but like how do those things link and chain together? Um,
And what are they doing? Yeah.
Precisely. So one of our
Yeah.
missions right now at Ambitious Labs, like Dreams into Apps, is not just a course. Like that's not my vision. The vision is to build like an AI co-pilot for non-technical entrepreneurs like you, where the no-code tools already exist. The education around them still needs a lot of work. Where you learn like, okay, how do you validate an idea? How do you niche down and build something that's simple? Like you built a fantastic version one. There's so much potential there,
Yeah.
but too many builders try to overcomplicate it and they don't end up actually launching like one main thing. And I think you did a great job of like just honing in, staying focused on that. And now you're like going to incrementally add more features. There's that, but then just like you're saying, the bridge between someone who knows nothing about software development and then being able to like go into FlutterFlow, BuildShip, Firebase, Stripe, and be able to link all these things together. That's a whole different like problem solving like mental model that you have to have. So our vision is actually to build, and we are building this like an AI coach that guides you through the process with diagrams and with like actionable insights and tutorials on how you do, inputs and outputs and chaining things together. So like that's the real vision for Dreams into Apps. It's not just to be like a FlutterFlow course. We're also doing more content on other platforms too, and the vision is to be like your entrepreneurship co-pilot. So I'm really glad that you brought that
Love
up.
Yeah, that's sweet because I think that's where some of the easiest stumbling blocks are is just lack of access.
Hmm.
Uh, I'm hoping that I under the surface of all this, I'm going to try and do a similarly kind of start a community similar to yours as well,
Nice.
where I think that there's a lot of power in small
There
communities.
is.
And so all of us can exist at the same time, and it's still highly beneficial to everybody who's involved. Because if you get over like 1,000 people, sometimes it's just a bunch of noise. But in groups of like 300 to 400, you have this little ecosystem of support where usually someone is free uh, at all times. And so if you hop in and you ask a question, it's pretty quick to get a response when you've got like 400 people that are all
Totally. And I think this
to help.
space is massive. There's room for a lot of people to grow businesses, make full-time incomes. I even like encourage our builders like, yo, like go launch your own training programs. Like go to your communities and build your own version of like, a boot camp or a coaching program. Like there's so much pie out there because 43% of the general population, 4 out of 10 people have had an idea for an app. That is a lot of people, meaning that there's a ton of people for us to go out there and help. So I'm fully on board. It's a rising tides lifts all ships. Um, and
Yeah.
that's why we do these podcasts and everything too. So I totally agree. And if you do launch a community, feel free to hit me with that link. We'll make sure that people jump into yours too, because we we know like most people even nowadays with like tools like school.com and stuff popping out, people are part of multiple courses, multiple communities, and they're learning different angles of things. Like I see a future in 10 years. Well, actually it's today, people will not go to school and spend 100K on this shitty predetermined like curriculum. They're going to take that 100K over a course of 5 years and stack them with communities, school groups, courses, certificates, and just create their own curated education with less money. And they're going
Yeah.
to learn from like direct experts and be like, oh, I learned this from this successful person. I learned this from this successful person. And they're going to create their own skill stacks is what I'm predicting.
I think so too. Well, and you're going to have private coaches who come in and they'll consume that 50K and they'll create the exact stack and the exact roadmap that you actually want for all of your learning materials by helping you just know where to go to find it.
That's a great idea.
The discovery process of where you go to find the right content that's going to take you down the path that you're ambitious about. Like a college is sort of was originally designed with that in mind, but it's become so institutionalized that in many ways they're so big that they've kind of lost the vision. Kind of like when these communities get too big, it's hard for people to collaborate this in the same ways that they used to. You have to put them in cohorts and shrink the sizes down so that they can really network and really grow and get to know people and feel like they're getting to know people too. That's huge, right? Like if it's a different person that's helped you out every single time, sometimes that feels a little bit, I don't know, it's hard to describe, right? Like these communities you feel like you want to make friends with the people that are there.
Totally.
So yeah, I'm there, definitely there with that. I think Circle looks amazing, School looks amazing. I'm a Discord guy myself. Discord just feels so lively with all the people and
Yeah.
people just jumping into voice channels and literally just chilling out in a voice channel and talking, and you can see all the people hanging out during the day. Just feels like you're part of a vibrant space when you're in those little communities like that. So I'm still kind of a Discord guy. I think Circle looks the coolest of them that I've
Yeah.
seen. School is second for me though.
Nice. Yeah. And then
Yeah.
I'm just stoked about the future of education. Like I think it's all heading in the right direction. One thing I do want to mention though is like, yeah, like the Apple Store is unreasonably and unnecessarily like hard to launch your app in. I
So
run a 2 times a week launch call for Dreams into Apps, and all we do is work through the launch process. People get rejected for the dumbest things. They'll get accepted one time and then rejected another time. But the cool thing is that like I've seen a lot of those rejection reasons from my days at PrizePicks. I was sending releases every 3 days for 2 years, and so I have a ton of experience working with the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. So that's one cool thing about being able to work inside of Dreams and Apps is that we end up kind of bridging that gap. But if you're alone trying to do it, that shit is ridiculously tedious. Like, yeah,
it's so yeah, and you just find yourself reading through tons of user
for
guides
sure.
to try and figure this out. Well, and some of them are old. So you read through it and then the website's changed. So you get lost again. You don't know where you're going now. So you have to find like the newest YouTube video of the newest release that a creator has made showing how to do
Right.
it. Because if you find the old one out of date, now you got to go find the newest video. Things are changing so fast, you
Yeah,
know?
absolutely.
So
No, Rosin, that's awesome. Do you have anything else that you
the
want to put out there to the world? What are you looking for? And I'll definitely leave a link to your app in the description, but where can people find you and what are you looking for from the audience?
Yeah, so this Saturday, if everything goes right, we're going to launch the community that I just mentioned that we're thinking
Oh,
of doing.
sweet.
Yeah, we're going to launch Discover No Code, and we've got a Discord that's going to be all set up, and we have a newsletter that's going to go out. The first one will go out this Saturday that will also turn into a little blog. And the newsletter is going to be all about how you build the things. So we feel like, just like we've talked about, the biggest blind spots are the how. because you can publish the tech stack and you can publish all the different platforms, but how you actually piece it all together and make it all work so far has been the biggest battle for all of us. And the posts you read on LinkedIn are all super inspirational, but it still leaves you wondering how did you actually go A to B?
Right.
So we're excited to launch a little Discover No Code community in a newsletter. My brother will be posting about AI stuff, and I'll be posting about no code tools.
Very cool.
So it'll be a fun synergy there.
I will 100% make sure that the link is in the
Yeah.
description, so we'll stay in touch there. But Rosson, thanks so much for doing this with us, and I hope that we inspired people to take the leap and launch something like you did.
Me too. It's all just learning new platforms. Even building this one, I'm building it in Softer, so I got to learn another no code platform just building this thing too.
For sure.
So it's fun.
Awesome, man. Thanks so much.